So I'm going to start with the end point. The end point is we've had these great ideas. Someone here said we've heard so many good ideas, and I've had several come up to me and say, I'm excited, I want this to work, but I've been down this road before. I've been down the road of national strategies, broader, narrower, provincial strategies, and many people have had some discouraging experiences, although I think many of us have also had the experience of something good, something positive coming even when we didn't have everything happen. So I just want to speak very briefly to some ideas for the next period. It was hitting me this afternoon. Oh my God, we've got a strategy. It's got a chance of getting accepted in various places. That's a lot of work. So we have come with the idea of a relatively short consultation period after this conference, 3 months at the beginning of next year. The resources are not tremendously significant to make it happen, so it's only going to happen effectively if everybody in this room joins in, and if we can leverage that energy that has come together here so powerfully to try to make the ideas that have come forward resonate out there, try to gain some support for them. And of course that includes in the political world as well as all the organizations we are involved with. And we're hoping it's not just a standard consultation of send out a document, send out some questions, get the input, gather it all in, feed it back, and then what happens? We're hoping that it's a collaborative, very engaged process, that we can call on each of you to leverage your relationships, to leverage your key contacts, your key partnerships, those who couldn't come, those who might not have even heard much about this, to get the basics of it out there and get your sort of follow-up ideas in very effectively. We're also hoping to utilize some pre-scheduled meetings. So for sure in January, February, March, there'll be important meetings of many of your organizations or many partnerships that you're involved in. We can use those for some focused consultation. And we really need your ideas on who you've noticed wasn't here, who you think we really need to reach out to get some buy-in for this. And probably in a lot of cases we'll be also counting on your small p or even big P political contacts, because we don't want this to be something that dies with an election, that rides on the success of one government or another. We want it to be something that has a sustainable reality out in the community that will continue to grow and strengthen. And I'll finish off with we'll say the mandatory voluntary discussion. We thought long and hard about this. The fact that we're going to start voluntary does not mean we don't want it real in the world. It does not mean that there aren't parts of it that probably a lot of us up here believe should be mandatory. But we feel we've got a strong base of support. We can start with a lot of these ideas and start making them real in the world, chunk by chunk, and pick our battles for which ones and at what time and what way we might want to move to a more broad acceptance and enforceability, I guess we'll say. So I'm hoping that's not a polarizing issue. I know there's some in the room that have come up to me and said, why is it voluntary? Nothing's going to happen if it's not mandatory, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're all striving for a world where this is a natural thing that a lot of people want to do, and we make them do it to the least extent possible, but when that is necessary, of course, that is something to be considered. So I'll stop there. My colleagues also have a lot of ideas on what's come, but exciting times are just beginning.
Malik, so we'll turn next to Maureen.
Hi, everybody. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me get all my steps on my Fitbit today. That was really nice. I appreciate that. And I've got two high-level observations that I want to touch on that kind of bubbled throughout the last couple of days, but I think really need to be punched. And the first one is that we need to ensure that whatever it is that we're doing as a strategy is framed by the Convention of Rights for Persons with Disabilities. And that's where this was born, that's where this collaboration can come in, and that's where we can have the biggest really the biggest amount of impact. There are other organizations that are working on monitoring and outcomes and measures, and we need to dovetail and align with those. There's the Canadian Human Rights Commission, who has been charged with ensuring that the mechanisms that have been put in place are being monitored, and we need to dovetail with that. We need to understand what's going on in the bigger realm as well. So I want to ensure that has been said and that's really punched out there. And along with that, the concluding observations from the UN Convention of Rights for Persons with Disabilities included sheltered workshops. And we haven't talked a lot about sheltered workshops and the delisting of sheltered workshops. They still exist across Canada. There are some provinces that are further ahead than others, but we haven't really punched that in our strategy, so I think that needs to be involved in our strategy as well. The other thing, of course, that has been said a number of times is the shifting and including of employers of all kinds of both corporate Canada and small businesses, and also shifting from the dynamic of employer and employee and employer and worker, because that connotates a dynamic of conflict already, that it really does shift to leadership. And it shifts to business leadership, and the shift is also made to private and public sector as well, but through leadership as opposed to the dynamic between employer and employee. Those are my two thoughts. I do have just a quick thank you. I want to thank everybody in this room for your participation. I think that this is not ours. This is ours. This is everybody's. And your participation today and sticking with it over the last 2 days has shown that. I want to thank my fellow steering committee members. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with all my time now. I want to thank Ron very much for leading us in our discussion. You've done an incredible job of herding cats. I want to thank the sign language interpreters. I want to thank Debbie, who's been doing the cart, the videographers, and all of the number of volunteers who have helped make the last few days very, very successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. So Kathy Hawkins is going to talk next.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I just want to echo Maureen's comments around the importance of employer and leadership and engagement. I really think that we still have some work to do with our strategy document as it relates to businesses, making sure that businesses are investing. We've heard from everybody in the room how important it is to ensure education and engagement with them, and I'm really interested in making sure that happens. And I, too, also wanted to thank people. I really appreciated everybody's insight and your perseverance. I see a lot of fatigue in the room at the moment, and I really wanted to say thank you. Even through all your fatigue, you still, wanted to make sure that we heard you, and we did. We heard you, and looking forward to continuing to listen to you as we move forward. And as the consultations roll out, we're really interested and looking forward to getting your feedback and your input. And again, as Alec had indicated, connecting with your peeps, your small P peeps and your big P peeps. So please continue to engage with us, and looking forward to that.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, Steve Mantis is going to talk next.
So, in preparation for this session, I've been kind of taking notes throughout the last day and a half, kind of highlights, kind of like what the artist was doing. But then I'm going, oh my gosh, there's too much to share. So the one that kind of, for me, brought it together was that we need to have a deep societal collaboration. I don't remember who said it, but in a way, we're dealing with disability in work, which is a small part of a bigger society, and it reflects the values and the practices of that larger society. And we kind of not only have to transform the workplace around disability, we need to transform the whole society. And of course, You're going to look at me and go, what the heck are you saying? We got enough on our plate. But they're so interrelated. The values that are in this room about inclusivity, about respect, about, in a way, we're a family together, need to spread out so that our family is not just thinking about disability. Inclusion is like all of us. And how can we transform our society so that it works better for all of us? That we don't leave 15 or 20% of the population out, a lot of which are people with disabilities, but there's a whole bunch of other people there too. How do we say we value everyone? We value the variety and the diversity that people bring that can actually make my life and my family's life better. That's really the vision. And then how do we do it? Right? We do it in our work, but we do it in our daily life. And we have to unlearn stuff that we've learned for over the decades. I've been struggling with this myself. How do I become a better person? How do I get rid of that racism and the sexism that I grew up with so that inclusion is natural? It's not something we have to work at after, over and over. It becomes, this is the way we do it. We're all part of this family. And really, I look back to the gentleman that did our opening prayer. And it's funny, as an advocate, sometimes we get so angry, it's almost like we just want to bash that person who's got the power that we don't have. And what he says, hate has no place. Even those people are our family. And so how we treat them kind of helps to create that society. So, Tim Rose, who was on our panel, I look to the youth, I feel like I'm an old man. It's time for us to value those young voices, to be the leaders, to create the society. He said, I'm lucky to be born with a disability. Whoa! Yes! And so I just want to end on one of those partnership pieces that in my little world is starting to create that, which was our speaker school, which we developed from our last research collaboration to help people who don't have a voice in society to have that voice so they can be participants. And in Thunder Bay, where I'm from, we are reaching out to all vulnerable adults in that program. And what we see is the silos we live in, where we're Aboriginal or a single mom or a disability or a person, an injured worker, oh my God, we're the same. We face the same barriers, the same challenges, and that solidarity begins to build along with my confidence and my skills to be able to be an active participant in society. You want to find out more? Speakerschool.ca. I'm never done, but you just got to shut up sometimes.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm not sure what more I can add, but I really just want to say I'm so grateful for you guys all to have been here, shared what you've shared. I've heard so many great stories, great insights, and it's really incredible working as a collaborative like this, having all of these you guys come together to help develop this strategy, and I'm really grateful for you having joined us for these 2 days. It's been such a rich 2 days that I find it a bit overwhelming, and I'm a bit exhausted, like some of you probably are as well. But fortunately, we've captured a lot of it. So on the videos, and your note-taking as well that you'll send in to us, and any kinds of other insights you have, I really encourage everybody to reach out to us. There's the email address that's on the tent card on your table, and all of us are probably easily accessible through various avenues from our organizational affiliations as well, because this is an ongoing discussion, and we want you to continue to be involved through this whole process. It's really critical that we collectively own this strategy, and that it's ours, as Maureen pointed out, that it's our strategy as a collaborative of working with everybody in this arena. I'm a researcher, so I get really excited about data, and I remember something that Joni, I do qualitative research too, even though I'm an economist, but Joni can say data is everywhere. And you just have to collect it. There's lots of data and that we've collected today, really valuable data, and which will really help us going forward in various areas. I've heard some really exciting ideas about good practice examples. Some of the employers gave some really good practice examples that I think it would be great to document. Some of the standards work that I'm doing will require implementation guidelines, and both the standard development and the implementation will require good practice examples to help put it into real life. And that's all part of that ongoing continuous improvement. There's always room for improvement. That's the whole principle of these kinds of things. The standards are that there's always room for improvement and learning by example as well. Hopefully we can capture as much as we can of the richness that we had over the last 2 days in the work going forward. Great ideas for some research projects that I've come across just from listening to various people's insights from their knowledge from the field. I always love to think of research following the insights that people have that are gut instincts or personal experiences that we can then go forward with, putting a stronger evidence base to it. So I think I always encouraging everybody here when we have our panels to put a researcher on the panel as part of the process, because I think that research has to be woven into the work that people are doing in whatever domain they work in this policy arena. So it's been a lovely 2 days, and hopefully that conversation will continue over the next year. We are planning, as I guess Alex had mentioned about the consultations, but the plan is, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it, that we want to have another conference next year. In fact, hopefully we can do this every year. It's just so lovely to get together and talk about these things with you guys. If our steering committee has the energy for it, it's been an intense fall session because we only started working on this I think in the late summer. So thank you all. I'll leave it at that, and I just hopefully will cross paths often over the next year. Take care, guys.